need is.
What day was Easter Sunday?
Good morning. It is a beautiful Friday morning. What a way to start a weekend by being the first day of the month. Not only being the first day of the month, but also being the first day of freedom, according to the governor of the state of Texas. And on top of that, what a great morning uh, to have Mayor Trey Mendez with us this morning. Mayor, good morning.
Morning.
Always an honor, sir.
Thank you. Same.
And of course, Frankie. Hey, Frankie, how you doing today?
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Erasmo. Thank you for having me, and welcome once again, Mayor. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for taking your time out and informing your community, our community, in regards to this crisis. So, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thanks. Yeah, definitely. Happy to be here.
Morning, Joe. And one of the things that we were talking about last night. Again, we're on here quite often. One of the things that we were talking about last night is the numbers that hit, and how the numbers are basically consistent with something that one of our local bloggers also posted. Juan Montoya, he posted up a little graph in regards to how it was continuing to creep up. Again, yesterday here in the city of Brownsville, we had 8 new cases in the city of Brownsville. And I think I was sharing last night, and I was sharing before we started with Frankie, that one of the things that is concerning to me, and despite the fact that we've already had children on there, it's the age groups are coming in at 8, 14, 5 years old, and I think they're very telling, Mayor.
Well, right, and I think the youngest one we've had so far was 9 months. So, nobody's immune. We just had a 90-year-old resident of Cameron County pass away. I believe it was yesterday as well. So we're seeing a lot of individuals that are passing away in Harlingen as a result of the nursing home. I'm going to call it contamination, but really exposure. You've seen how being in a close proximity to other people in a high-density facility can just cause this to spread and almost uncontrollably, right? So it's a highly contagious disease. I think we've learned that. We're still learning more about how exactly it transfers or how people are infected. There's some people that believe it's airborne. There are certain people that talk about 6 feet. Some people talk about 21 feet. Some people talk about it lingers for X amount of hours. Some people say it lingers for a day. So the science behind this is still being developed. And so when I see people that are talking about science as if they know, there's no way to know. Not even the top scientists know. I was just on a call earlier today with one of the top infectious disease experts in the country, and he still doesn't have a handle on this at all. So if that individual doesn't have a clue, then there's no way that our neighbors and our relatives on Facebook have a clue, right? So let's not listen to them. Let's listen to the experts and let's take precautions, because we're seeing 9-month-old kids that are getting infected. We're seeing people dying all across the spectrum here, and it's serious for those individuals. And what's bothering me now is I'm seeing a lot of individuals starting to respond to posts on social media. Well, we only have 400 people out of 450,000 in Cameron County that are infected, so that means that it's less than 1% of people that are sick. No, only 1% of people have been tested. Let's think about that. So if we have 400 people, if they want to do that math, then I can play devil's advocate and play the other side, which is we've only tested 1% and we've got 400. So multiply that by 100. Multiply 400 by 100, and then that's the number that we get, right? And somewhere in between there is the reality. But I remember one of the first conversations we had on here, Frankie asked me, how many people in Brownsville you think are infected? I said, probably a couple thousand. And I remember you were surprised at that, but is that really something that we'd be surprised at right now? No,
not at all.
There's people walking around without symptoms. There's people walking around with it that don't know they have it, that are silent carriers, that are maybe infecting their families. And Easter Sunday, I think, was a major step back in us being able to recover and flatten this curve. I felt really good 10 days ago where we were at, but now I'm very, very concerned at Erasmo, and being on the call that I was on this morning with the hospitals and medical experts. The hospitals themselves are seeing an uptick. The city, the last few days, has seen a higher number. So we're going back up, which is extremely concerning for me, especially now knowing that businesses are opening and that people are going to be running around without protection, thinking that everything's okay. And you know, the reality is a lot of people that are going to get sick are going to get sick, get over it, and be okay. But I'm not thinking about those individuals. I'm thinking about the entire community, because those individuals that may recover in a few days and not have to go to the hospital could also be infecting their 85-year-old grandparent or aunt or relative that's not going to get through this, right? So that's where we really have to be thinking about what's the cost of human life, and what sacrifices do we have to make as a community to protect each other. And we were doing really good for a while, but now I feel like we've taken a step back, and the governor's orders certainly don't help anything. And I'm really concerned. You know, yesterday, day before, I was driving around on my way to the restaurant, and I was seeing people that are working on construction without masks, socializing like everything's okay, and it's not. That's the bottom line. It's not okay yet.
It's not okay. And one of the things, Mayor, that you mentioned, and one of the things that we've been very consistent with, sir, is that, you know, I get very irate. And I know that a lot of people in Brazil have seen me irate because I'm very public about it. I get very irate with people who are out there posting and saying it's a hoax, less than 1%. The more people died from the flu and from a tetanus shot. And I'm going like, guys, come on, man. And it really is a disservice to the community every time someone goes out and posts things like that. And I've actually yelled at some friends of mine. Guys, don't do that. You are in effect doing what some of these elected officials out there are doing, planting these seeds of, it's not a big deal, by their actions and by their posts. It's not a hoax. And you can tell it's not a hoax by the number of individuals that have lost their lives, you know, and it's going to get to the point. It's going to get to the point where it's like cancer, where in one way, shape, or form, it has affected every single person in this country.
Right.
We all know someone who has directly had a battle with cancer, passed away from cancer, and it's going to get to that point. And I'm thinking it might even surpass it at this point at the rate we're going.
Well, and I've seen people respond differently to this virus as well. I know one particular family that had 6 positives, and they're not one person is in Brownsville, but the other 6 are in another city. But this family, there was 6 individuals that were tested. 7 individuals were tested. 6 of them came back positive. 1 of them didn't. But you had one individual or 2 that are in their late 30s. One of them didn't require hospitalization. The other was in the hospital, coded, had to be revived, survived, got out of the hospital, is now okay. That individual's wife had it, never had to go to the hospital, had, you know, almost like a cold or flu, got over it in a few days. Their 2 children, one of them tested positive, asymptomatic. The other one tested negative, also asymptomatic. Those individuals' parents, one of them was okay, had kind of a cold respiratory illness for a few days. The other one, the mom, was in the hospital for 2 weeks, in an induced coma for a week, lost some memory, has some speech issues. So it's different. The way it affects individuals is totally different. And that's something we need to be wary of. It's not something that's going to look the same for everybody. It's certainly not. The way our body responds, our rate of chronic illness down here obviously is higher than other communities. We have a 70% rate of chronic disease, and that's going to affect us more as well. The way our body responds, the way we fight this off differs in different people. So be wary of that as well. We're not anywhere near getting past this, and I feel very confident saying that. I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just trying to let people know this is real, and we're starting to see a second wave here.
Mayor, I just posted an article in regards to on the Texas Tribune. Yesterday it was reported that Texas had the most deaths at 50. And we have heard from our county judge that he is not in agreement with our governor in regards to opening up shop. What is the sentiment of the commission right now? You sound like if you're also reluctant. How will you be working with the county judge to ensure that we do everything possible to avoid this outbreak or this second wave from occurring down in Brownsville, Texas.
Sure. And Frankie, the number you're talking about, 50, that's not the total Texas death rate. We have way more than that.
That was for yesterday. Yesterday was the highest death rate in one day, 50 deaths in one day.
Okay. Well, my thoughts, and let me just give you my perspective on. You gotten tested, Erasmo? You might need to get a test. We're doing drive-through testing. Go to btxcares.com to
I don't want to have to quarantine.
quarantine all day.
It's true.
All right. So getting back to the question, though, on a serious note, my thoughts on the governor's orders, and I put this out there as well, extremely premature. I think it's too soon. There are certain aspects, and I told you this last time I was on the show. I was surprised he wasn't more aggressive in some of the things he did a couple weeks ago. When he about 10 days ago when he first said he was going to start opening things. I was surprised he wasn't more aggressive. I still don't agree with what came out this past week and the reopenings that are happening today. I certainly do not agree with it. There are certain things that I think are okay. I understand retail. I think it's okay to have people come in by appointment as long as individuals are covered and they take precautions. I think that's fine. I completely disagree with two things. One of them is movie theaters. Do not agree with that whatsoever. Cinemark, though, I believe is going to remain closed, which is good. And then second, I do not agree at all with dining areas opening to the public. Even though 25% capacity, you think about it, I'm a restaurant owner. We're going to stay closed till at least June. And we made that decision amongst ourselves. But you look at it, the requirements are sanitizing pretty heavily in between seatings. Where are restaurants going to get this cleaning supplies? They're not available. We have issues, and we deal with vendors that are nationwide and statewide, and we can't get stuff. So I don't know how some of these mom and pop restaurants are going to be getting their sanitizer, their Lysol, all of this, because they're going to have to be sanitizing in between each seating. And to clear out your dining area to 25%, okay, I get it. But people are you can't eat with a mask on, right?
No.
So if you're sick, you're still talking, you're still coughing, you're still exposing everybody else around you. I just don't think that's a good idea. Getting people back to work, I think, is fine as long as you can do it safely. A lot of the governor's plan relies on testing, which we still don't have. People take that for granted. People that are on social media seem to think that tests are readily available and we can just go get them at Exxon. That's not the case. We've had a major nationwide, statewide, countywide shortage of testing for 6 weeks. You think that's going to get any better now that we are where we are? Absolutely not. We have more funding, which is good, but a large part of the governor's plan is relying on testing, and it's testing we don't have. So I don't know how you're going to be able to open things up more in a couple weeks when you're not able to test individuals. I just think it was some parts of it were good, but there was some parts of it that are really, in my opinion, totally irresponsible, pandering to the base, which I don't agree with. And I understand it's politics, but I don't agree with it. I don't, me, Erasmo, I don't play that game. I do I deal with data and facts and make a decision based on that. People are going to be upset at you one way or another, but to pander to the base on a statewide level is I think, irresponsible on the governor's part, but I understand why he did it. I just don't personally agree with it. I think we could have done a little bit more to be more cautious. I understand people need to get back to work. The economy is suffering. We need to get some people back to work and some businesses open as long as we can do it safely and responsibly. Dining areas, movie theaters, places where you're going to have a high density and a lot of traffic are places that I think still are not ready to be open until we get more testing and we're able to contact trace and really figure out and get a real good idea of who exactly is sick. And I'm seeing a comment there, keep us shelter in place. We don't have that ability, guys. The governor has made it very clear that his orders control, they supersede anything we do. The county judge and I had a conference on this yesterday. We're talking about whether there's anything we can do that's going to be further restrictive within our own parameters. As of now, what we can do is we can restrict access to city facilities, city buildings, certain city business, which we fully intend to do. But we can't tell people to stay at home. We can't force them to wear facial coverings. We can only make strong recommendations. Other larger cities maybe are being defiant, but they have more resources than we do. But it's a very difficult position that we've been put in, and we're making the best out of it as we can, and we will restrict where we can restrict. But I hope people listen, and I hope that they, at least what you're going to start to see is businesses, and a lot of my friends in the restaurant industry and in other industries are taking it upon themselves to remain closed. And I think that's what you're going to see across the state is the restaurants that are responsible, that can afford to stay closed, or that care more about human life, then they're going to be the ones that are going to stay closed or take more precautions. I understand some may be in a position where they have to open possibly. Those that are opening, I really hope that they take the proper precautions to keep their community safe.
Well, Mayor, one of the things that you and I have disagreed on in the past before.
We don't disagree on anything. Come on.
Every so often, we that I tend to be a little bit more on the conservative side of things,
Right.
Because of my upbringing, because of church, whatever, and but again, I tend to call it like I see it, and I think that all the governors that are out there, opening up, which I believe is too soon. I think they're pandering to the president. They're mostly Republican governors, and they're desperate in order to place this little win on the side of the Republican Party. And I hate when party politics interferes with safety, health, and well-being of the community that we serve. It's 100% a mistake. I think everyone the majority of the individuals here in the city of Brownsville agree that it is just way, way too soon. As much as we want our freedoms and our economy to start coming back, the majority of the people out here believe it's just way too soon.
And let me say this: we don't have Republican and Democrat funerals, right? We just have funerals. So there's no room for politics when it comes to human life. I think you just make the best decision possible. And unfortunately, politics has gotten in the way of this. And I don't agree with a lot of things that are happening, but we can do what we can do. And my role as mayor is to inform and educate and let people know what our recommendations are and act in the best interest of the community. And I think we've done that. There's certain restrictions that we have, and we've been handcuffed a little bit in what we can do, but we're going to keep doing as much as we possibly can. And I'm in communication with the county judge at least twice a week. I'm in communication with the hospitals at least twice a week. So I'm on top of the situation, and we're doing a lot. If we hadn't done the testing, we'd be in a lot more difficult position. So, sometimes you just have to do, not sometimes, all the time, you have to do what's best, and we're going to keep doing that.
Well, I will say one thing, and someone asked the question, I can't remember, and it was up here, but it's something that I know that the city of Laredo is contemplating having a meeting on Monday. And the city of Laredo is going to vote on if they are going to want to continue shelter in place till May 15th. It's something that the city of San Antonio has also decided. Is there a way, a legal way for each city to basically determine if they're going to establish or place a shelter in place for their particular municipalities?
At this point, I'm not aware of it, but I have asked the county to look into that. The county has more legal resources than we do, so I did ask Judge Lorino about that yesterday, particularly, to look into what it is that we can do and get legal opinions on what further restrictions we can place, because neither one of us feel comfortable with the situation as it is now. So if there's anything we can do, we definitely are going to do that.
Mayor, we know the situation of the city of Harlingen. We previously spoke about the outbreak in their nursing homes, and they are currently leading Cameron County in the number of positive results. And we recently got information in regards to the city of Brownsville and Harlingen coming together and reaching an agreement so the Harlingen residents could get access to testing. What has been the mindset in regards to that? Are y'all trying to prevent the spread of Harlingen coming into Brownsville? And who reached out in regards to allowing this to happen?
Well, we've been there's a daily countywide call that's been going on for about a month or more, actually, since this whole thing started. And each entity kind of talks about what's happening. The county reports their numbers. The city's been reporting their numbers. And we've always been encouraging other cities to have a conversation with us because we have the capacity to perform more tests. So we've been putting it out there to the other cities. Hey, we can test. Y'all want to partner? Talk to us. We have the ability to do it. Let's talk. We're set up. We're efficient. Let's see if we can get some of your residents tested. And Harlingen was the city that did think that was a good idea, and I applaud them for it. And I think it's a great decision. It shows leadership and protecting your community. So we've been in discussions with them for about a week or two in hammering out that agreement. The commission agreed to it on Tuesday. The Harlingen City Commission also agreed to it on Tuesday. So we're going to start testing Harlingen residents at the sports park as well. And we have an agreement where they're going to pay for their individuals that are not insured. And it's very fair, and it works out. And we encourage more communities, if they're interested, to come to talk to us. We've been pitching the same thing to the county for a month. They have not, up to this point, stated that they're going to want to do it with us. But we're still seeing a major shortage in testing, like I said earlier. So the more people can be tested, the better. And Harlingen stepping up and joining us in the efforts, I think is great.
One of the questions that we answered, I guess we might have answered prematurely, but this is, again, a lot of what's going on, I think, takes a lot of common sense from a lot of individuals in regards to, and unfortunately, common sense is not always found in a lot of folk, especially in some of the individuals that we elect, unfortunately. But I was asked a question in regards to, can an establishment enforce face masks or limit children from entering without getting into legal trouble? And my response was, they do have the option of no shirt, no shoes, no shoes, no shirt, no service. Right. It could get to the point when a small business has the right to refuse service to anyone that they choose to do. And this could include someone walking into their establishment, be it a mom and pop restaurant or be it Walmart, or from stopping them from going into their place without a face mask. Was I on point?
That's my understanding as well, Erasmo. If a business wants to restrict who comes in, they can. That's my understanding. I'm not stating that as a legal opinion, but that is my understanding, that businesses can restrict who comes into their establishment. That's been the case, like we said, for a long time. No shoes, no shirt, no service, I think is going to turn into no shoes, no shirt, no mask, no service, right? But yes, my understanding is that businesses can restrict that entry on facial coverings or other protective equipment if they so wish. That's not a legal opinion. That's just my understanding of it.
Well, I think one of the things that other individuals have been concerned with, and again, I'm sure that you've gotten the calls as well, is that a lot of our school districts are going to start to do soft openings, not only in the city of Brownsville, but also in the city of Los Fresnos. Do you have an opinion in regards to doing these soft openings?
Soft openings for what?
For our school personnel.
The plan that I've seen from the ISD, from BISD particularly, I haven't seen Los Fresnos, but I did see BISDs. It ramps up slowly. I think initially it's a principal, a secretary, and an assistant principal, and it goes up a few people. I don't think that's terrible as long as they're wearing their protective equipment. But I think having teachers come back is going to be difficult. I don't see the purpose of that unless it's absolutely necessary. I've been a proponent of closing schools to students for about a month now, and just avoiding large gatherings and avoiding having a lot of people in one place at a time is the best thing we can possibly do. From day one, the two things that work are social distancing and testing. So if BISD is going to do it, which looks as they're going to, then I just ask that they be extremely cautious on how they do it. Wear facial coverings. Stay as far apart as they possibly can, and do it if you have to. Don't do it because you want to.
Well, I think one of the things that is concerning, and again, I'll just do my opinion on it. I think what the district is neglecting is they're taking the governor's orders and TEA's recommendations and trying to apply it for school. I think one of the things that they completely ignored was that the governor never mentioned schools in these last executive orders. And the recommendations that TEA established, were kind of wonky at best. But at the end of the day, what I think what concerns most everyone out here are the children. And one of the things that we've talked about is that the number of the children here in the city of Brownsville has continue to rise. Whereas in regards to Harlingen, the age group has consistently been around the 60s to 70 to 80 to 90-year-olds, mostly because of the outbreak in regards to the nursing homes. Part of my concern is that, I constantly receive pictures from people in the community, and individuals out there still have their kids congregating in groups, out there playing outside or everything. And again, I understand being cooped up and everything else. My concern is that the kids are going to be part of that big old next wave. And I think it's going to be alarming because kids don't understand the concept of social distancing or proper PPE or protection. So we have to be very, very vigilant. Someone was asking in regards to maybe PSAs. Again, one of the things that we've tried to encourage is, guys, please, as much as possible, stay at home, shelter in place, don't go out there. If you're not doing it for yourself, we're still young, we're in our 30s, Mayor, so
right.
we'll be doing okay. But for the sake of our little ones and our older folk, please stay at home.
I agree with that, Erasmo, and we caught a lot of heat at the beginning when we were restricting capacity in nursing homes and adult daycares, child daycares, but that was for safety because we knew that children don't fully grasp the science of this, and I certainly don't expect them to. But it's hard for kids to stay apart, right? They don't understand it, and I know if I was running around as a 6-year-old, I'd get in trouble all the time in school because I couldn't stay still. But it's not the kid's fault, and they shouldn't be put in a position where they have to learn to be medical professionals and become subject matter experts on a virus. It's just the best thing is just have them at home if you can, and if you need them at a daycare, make sure the daycare is taking precautions and keeping them separate as much as they can. But yeah, I agree. We are going to see a lot of younger individuals that are infected, and I think a lot of the reason that younger kids are getting tested now is because of the contact tracing, because some of their family members may be infected, so they get tested because of that. But otherwise, there may be a lot of children out there that are just carriers, silent carriers.
One of the things that I think that that has been stated that's going to open again is the mall. And one of the concerns from someone that just posted is, malls are
hubs.
The hood rats go to the mall, and todos los huercos they congregate. It's the daycare for a lot of the parents. They just drop off the kids, los huercos, en el mall y se dan vuelo. Is that what we're going to see? We're going to see a lot of kids out at the mall, and God only knows. Again, teenagers, kids.
The capacity is still limited, even at a mall. So I hope the mall takes precautions, and I hope they continue to disinfect. But like I said, it's difficult and it's expensive to get the proper sanitation supplies. So I think we're going to see that maybe there's going to be some places that cut corners. And definitely, I'm not going to run around in public very much. I can tell you that. I'm just going to be coming to my office, going to the restaurant, and staying away from places as much as I can. And as far as being in the restaurant business, we've been extra cautious and extra safe from the beginning. We've always sanitized. We did it even while we were open like normal. But I hope that the restaurants that are opening do take the proper precautions because people are trusting them literally with their lives. So restaurant industry out there, anybody else that's opening today, please be very conscious of the individuals that are coming into your establishment. Protect them and protect yourself as well, please.
One of the things that I think one of the other things that we were at different odds on is in regards to our peak, and I made mention that I had actually posted out there that I didn't think that we were going to peak till probably June, maybe late June, early July, and actually after I spoke with a lot of individuals, I was going like, maybe I was being a little bit too exagerado, But now, Mayor, when do you think now that we might be peaking?
That is a question that at this point I cannot even fathom a guess. Truthfully, if you'd have asked me, I felt very, very good a couple weeks ago because the thing that we did was showing very quantifiable results. And then we had Easter Sunday when we were getting reports of people congregating and people not taking measures. We're starting to see a wave from that, I think. And then, last weekend, a bunch of people started flocking to beaches, started going everywhere. So we're going to see a wave, and then those people are going to be infecting others. The hospitals are seeing an uptick, unfortunately, a major uptick now in infections. Valley Regional has the highest number of positive patients in their facility now than they've had this entire time. Valley Baptist has a lot of individuals that are starting to come in now with flu-like symptoms, which we know what that means. Some of the staff is they've had some staff that have some symptoms as well. So, if we start looking at this from a standpoint of when it may peak, I don't think it's going to peak. I feel like we haven't peaked yet, or I feel like we peaked, we flattened it, we went down, and then now we're on the roller coaster back up, and the openings aren't helping. They're not going to help, and that's not going to help us. That's not going to help us stop it from spreading. So I really can't answer it, Osmo. I wish it was happened, but I don't know.
Again, my concerns are seeing the trends, and that's one of the things that we spoke about yesterday. And the trends, what they tell us, you have to understand a lot of human nature, and a lot of human nature out there in the country differs from human nature here in Brownsville, Texas. Porque as someone posted up here, es que conocemos la raza y la raza es cabezona. I'm sorry, mi raza aquí de Brownsville no hace caso, no toman consejo. Everyone is a doctor, everyone is a scientist. Like when there's a case, everyone's a lawyer or everyone's a judge. It's just nuts.
We all have a deal. We all have that deal that's a lawyer and a doctor, right? But,
yeah.
It's one of those things, and the culture plays a part, sure. But I'm going to say this too, and I told somebody this yesterday, and I think it's an analogy that does kind of work. We had the answers to the test, right? We've seen the models in Italy, we've seen the models in South Korea, we've seen the models in China. We saw that these countries that reopened had a second wave. We've seen this, right? We've seen this in other countries. We've seen Singapore have their peak, get over it, open everything back up, and then have a second wave. So we've seen this happen in other countries. What makes us think that we're immune from that, right? So I told somebody this yesterday. We had the answers to the test. We knew what the questions were, what the answers were, and we failed that exam up to this point.
I mean, it's very, very. I mean, the numbers are just going to continue to creep up. When I saw the number, I personally never saw the numbers completely stop. I know that there was one day that all of a sudden I think we had like one case or something. And we're like, whoa.
No, we were consistently at about maybe 5, 6 a day. There was one day where we had, I think, 15 or 18 or something like that. But we were basically holding steady at about maybe 5, 6, 7. And then it went down for about 10 days to where we were at about 3 cases, 2 cases, 4 cases. There was a couple days there where we had 1 and then we had 0. So we felt really good about where we were. And then, the last couple days we've been back up again. And based on what I heard from the hospitals earlier today, we're going to keep going back up.
Now, what about the death rate? Are we going to start seeing a lot of more? And I'll make mention of this. This morning at 1:00 in the morning, one of our church elders passed away. From COVID-19, and a beautiful man, a great leader, very caring soul. So again, going back into it's going to start to affect all of us in a very, very personal way. Now, at this point, we can't even go to the funeral. It's going to be a very private funeral for close family members are going to be there. And we're going to have a service in July, hopefully in July. But at this point, I don't even know if we're going to be able to congregate in July out there in Austin, Texas, where he passed away, in order to have that memorial. I just don't see it. I think a lot of it has to do with individuals who are necios, and when people become necios, we will start to falter back go back the slippery slide slope that we've been going on this past couple of days. Now, Mayor, do you think that we'll see a second wave like the world did with the Spanish flu 100 years ago?
History repeats itself. Like I said, we had the questions and the answers to the test, and we still failed up to this point. So, do I think we'll see a wave like we did back then? I don't think so. But are we going to see another wave? I would say it's very likely.
The death rate is still pretty low, pretty comparable to the flu, if not mistaken. I don't think this compares to the flu in any which way possible. And I've read some. I read some articles. I read some articles out there in regards to comparing it to the flu is comparing apples to oranges.
I don't know, because there's a lot of symptoms that are comparable in the way that it makes the body feel. I think some people may think they have the flu, but they actually have corona. I heard that from the hospitals today, that they had some individuals that came in with flu-like symptoms that they would not normally test. They tested and they came back positive. So there are some similarities certainly between flu symptoms and corona symptoms. I don't doubt that at all.
I think what Jorge was referring to was in regards to the death rate, and comparing the death rate of the flu to
the death rate might be, I think the corona death rate at this point is higher. I don't know how much higher it is, but it is a little bit higher. But it just, to ask the question about the second wave, I think the answer is always going to be yes, because we have to look at it. If we look at it neutrally, we look at the fact that we don't have a vaccine, we don't have sufficient tests to figure out who's sick, and we're letting everybody go back to normal. How's that gonna make the numbers go down? It's absolutely not gonna make the numbers go down, right? It makes no sense. So absolutely, you're not on top of it. You don't have a full grasp of it. You haven't conquered it. You're not even really flattening it anymore. And then you're opening everything up. So, of course, you're going to have more people that are going to start testing positive.
I like Jesus Becky, comparing total deaths of the flu in 1 year, 32,000, compared to up to 40,000 that have died in 1 month is most definitely not the same. And I agree. Christopher, who's going to come on in a little bit or as soon as he can, death toll is over 1 in 20 cases. It's not like the flu in that respect. So I understand. We need more testing and more funding, a heck of a lot higher. Where are the differences?
I think the death rate's higher. I don't know if it's 1 in 20. That may be, just look at the ratio. Just compare rates. That's the easiest way to do it, not by numbers, but just compare it by rate. And then you'll get, you get an infection rate. So, for example, right now, we've tested 1% of the community, or at least Cameron County. We've tested maybe about 4,000 out of about 450,000. So we're close to 1%. We've got over 400 that have tested positive, right? So the amount of people we've tested compared to the amount that have come out positive, if you want to just do a basic roundup, we're at about 10% of the people that test are positive. And we've only tested about 1% of the population. So you just extrapolate that rate out, and I think you'll get to your number. But just look at the ratio, the actual percentage, number one, of the people that are tested in your community, then two, the amount of people that are tested, what percentage of those are testing positive, and then the ones that are testing positive, what percentage of those are passing away. So, and then I don't know what the rates are across the country or in different countries like Italy, Spain, Singapore, China. I don't know what those rates are.
I hope the health officials in RGV are not labeling every death as COVID-19 related when obviously not. It's come out that in New York City, many deaths are being reported to COVID-19, even though they're not for purpose of governmental funding. And I think that
the opposite. I think we may have had some individuals that have passed away, possibly from COVID, that were not labeled as COVID. So that's not even happening here. Close.
I agree 100%. I think, again, going back to some of our first weeks of being on social media, one of the things that we were comparing our situation is different from many other situations is that we would see that specifically in regard to New York, Washington, and New Jersey, how they had these huge outbreaks because of the nursing home issue. And I kept telling individuals here, guys, we have to realize that we are somewhat in the same situation. We have had 2 nursing homes that have exploded. And all you have to do is look at the individuals who are employed there. I'm not even talking about the individuals that actually work there, I mean, that reside there, but the employees that have been infected and come out as possible has been very, very alarming. And besides that, we've had these individuals go home and also, infect their family members. I think the county judge alluded to it. So we are in no way, shape, or form out of the woods yet. Dino asks, is Brownsville still in the zero column in regards to deaths?
Brownsville hasn't had any confirmed deaths that have been as a result of positives in Brownsville. We did have one individual from Brownsville, a Brownsville resident, who did pass away, but he was infected at one of the nursing homes in Harlingen. So that's the only individual from Brownsville that I know that has passed away up to this point. But I wouldn't be surprised if we have one in the next few days.
I agree completely. Mr. Mendez makes way too much sense. What is he doing in the political office in Brownsville? Too much sense. I agree. Christopher, good morning, Christopher.
Hey, good morning or afternoon, gentlemen. How you doing? Hello from sunny Spain.
Mayor Christopher is one of our retired firefighters. He's from Valencia, Spain, and he had some numbers to share with us.
Yeah, actually, I pulled up the. Hi, how's it going, Mr. Mayor?
Hey, Chris.
Good to see you.
You too, man.
Mr. Pizza. So,
Mr. Paella, right?
I'm Paella, your pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah,
let's stay in our lanes. Let's stay in our lanes.
Yeah, I was hearing about the reopening the.
That's part of the problem of having someone from Valencia, Spain.
That's all I've got. Maybe about 5 minutes.
Okay. Actually, these are some numbers I pulled up today. Just to put it in some context, do you know that in 2 months, more people have died from the coronavirus than 18 years in the Vietnam War?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a number. And that's a number specifically because there's 1.1 million cases with, I think we're at 63,766 deaths today. Compare that to 9 million people that were deployed in Vietnam, 159K deaths. This thing is deadlier than the Vietnam War and the Iraq War combined. So anybody thinking it's not serious lies on the borderline of just utter ridiculousness. I mean, that's how it is. And if you look at it worldwide, it's even worse. So it's ridiculous to actually talk about a second wave when you're in the middle of the first tidal wave. It's a tidal wave. And to reopen the country at the highest point that it ever has been of contagious, all it's going to do is put a whole bunch of people back into society when this thing is
Yeah, I completely agree.
Low amount of people that were contained. Now it's everywhere. And talking about removing the protective measures it's utter madness. I mean, here in Spain, they have a plan. They have a de-escalation plan. I can forward you that, if you want to actually take a look at it. It goes at 2-week stages, and we're actually on going to be our 8th week of confinement here, and we're barely allowed to go out for a jog starting on the 4th of May. Children were barely allowed out for an hour, and that's children under 14 last week. So to reopen a country that has the highest number of cases, the highest number of deaths, and they're having over 2,000 deaths, which is twice the amount of people that die from cancer and heart disease.
Mayor Trey Mendez, any final words? I know you have a meeting right now.
No, I agree with Chris. I mean, to open up now, I think it's not the right time, but it's happening. And now I think we're going to see that individuals themselves are going to have to take it upon themselves to be cautious and be responsible where their government has not. So I agree. Guys, thanks so much. Chris, enjoy Spain.
I try.
Bye, guys.
Mayor,
Have a good day, Mayor.
Mayor.
Bye. Thank you.
And again, just to point out, we do appreciate the mayor, taking some minutes out of his time to come on. There's no other individual in political office here in our area that is more busy and more on top of things than the mayor. He is on it 24/7, and right now, at the point that we're at, we do need leadership that are on it 24/7. Chris, are you still there? Or are you still in limbo?
I jump in and out of limbo. I've actually become very accustomed to live in limbo for part of my broadcast. Sorry, it's Wi-Fi is a mess where everybody's using it. And I think
Guys, I'm gonna have to step out. I have a meeting right now myself. So
okay.
Just me, Chris.
take over, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good morning, everybody. See you soon.
Laters, man. It's good to see you.
Bye, bro. And yeah, it's one of the things I think that is very concerning. Again, as much as I hate saying it, to my people here in Brownsville, I told you so. I've posted. I've said, guys, we are definitely not out of the woods. I don't care what the president says. I don't care what the governor says. I don't care what anyone out there says. We are definitely not out of the woods. And
You're in the thick of it. You're in the thick of it.
Exactly. And the reason why I said that is because all you have to do is do a little ounce of research and see the different trends. And that's one of the things, Chris, that I've been telling people. I look at trends, and the trends tell us one thing, Chris. What is that?
It tells us what's going on objectively.
Yeah.
It tells us what's going on. Why? And I think the mayor made an excellent point as to why does the U.S. think this is going to be different? This is not a war you can just blast off. America's great at a lot of things, the best at so many of them. This is.
And Justin, while he's in limbo, I will say that you can request to be tested at btxcares.com. So I'll answer that while Chris is coming back to us.
I think I'm not really sure at this point.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, so basically, it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And this is why, actually, Spain started a de-escalation. When we hit our peak, we're having 1,000 deaths a day, right? That is higher per capita than the U.S. is having. That was bad. Right now, there's over 2K a day, and that's been consistent over how many days now? Like 20 days? So
Yes.
The death toll yesterday in Spain was 287. It's about less than a third of what it was at our peak. And they've slowly, ever so slowly, going to start to de-escalate it with a plan in place. Not everybody likes it, but at least something, to just go ahead and open up right now, even in Spain, where we're on the downgrade of the curve. The fact that we're on the downgrade of the curve does not make it less deadly, less contagious, or less real. And the only reason we're at the downgrade is because we all have been shut in. And the U.S. has been shut in for, how long are you guys going on it? 4 weeks now? 5 weeks? What's the...
5 weeks. 5 weeks.
5 weeks. 5 weeks. And you have not reached your peak.
Not even close.
Not even close. So what's going to happen the minute that you take a society, send them out into...
We're still riding the first wave, and he's right. People are already talking
the
about
worst point. It's the worst and highest point. It's as bad as it gets right now. Why would anybody think it's...
I'm a cancer-free for 15 years, also nurse. My family will not participate with the state, 100%. It should. Bill Gates was the correct on TED Talk. Chris, go.
I'm a cancer survivor myself, Tammy. 2-time cancer survivor and diabetic. Believe me, I'm bunkering down. I ain't getting this crap.
100%. And again, guys, the mayor is not it. He allowed the reopening. He allowed the reopening of the state. No, he did not allow the reopening of the state. I think what Tammy's saying is that the mayor had no option. The governor did it without, I think, consulting. Again, I'm going to say what I've said before, and I'll say it again. And I said it earlier right now. I think it's all a political move. I think it's the Republican Party that is pushing for different states to slowly start to reopen. It's not the right move. And I agree with what Mayor Mendez said. There should be some retail that might be slowly in opening with curbside. I could completely understand that. But once you have the people factor, like individuals inside a confined space, like a restaurant, city, or a theater. And again, even the movie theaters, Chris, movie theaters became very, very responsible. Movie theaters opted and said, you know what? We're not opening till July. And that is very, very telling. Where are the Brownsville commissioners? In hiding. I've not heard from a single one of them. I got a phone call from Commissioner Mujia, and that's it. Have not heard from any other of the city commissioners, and I don't think anybody else in the city of Brownsville has either.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, go.
No, just like what Trisha is saying, his hands are tied. So it's really going to be upon everybody to use some common sense. Once again, with some few exceptions. I will point out, Mr. Mendez, with some few exceptions, politicians are not necessarily smarter than individuals, right? They're in their
right. And our politicians tend to be a lot less brighter than other individuals. And I understand Tammy's concern, Tammy's worry, as that we're all worried. Exactly. If the stores are still not fully stocked up on the major necessities, why we open so soon, people are still out of there looking for hand sanitizer, antibacterial products, and paper. But okay, open up and things will get worse. And let me tell you, Joanne, you're right. But now the masks are not required. The kids, the masks are not required because, again, it wasn't the mayor or the county judge's request. That was from the governor of the state of Texas. He made it very, very, very clear. And again, I'm going to say this. I believe it was very irresponsible for the governor. Very irresponsible for the governor to go out there publicly during a press conference and say, you don't have to wear the face coverings, no fines, nothing, don't do anything. Chris, are y'all still wearing face coverings?
When people can have them, yeah. I mean, it's really hard to priced. Most people do. I don't. You see people walking around with latex gloves and all.
Rudy says Trey Mendez doesn't have that power yet. And yes, again, Trey Mendez for governor of the state of Texas sounds like a winner to me. Common sense, Chris, what does common sense tell us? Back in limbo. Again, Chris is in Valencia, Spain, and that's
one of the I'm back.
And that's one of the reasons why he comes back. Go, Chris. And he's out again. Again, technology, guys, doesn't always work. Maybe he can run. Yes, guys. One of the things I think that is back is very, very. Go for it. Out and in. All right, guys. I will do my best to intercede. Again, guys, one of the things I think is very important to understand is that when leadership fails us, as it has failed us at the state level, we need to take our own precaution and our own action. At the end of the day, the governor could sit in Austin, Texas, on his wheelchair and dictate for us what he thinks and believes is best for us. We have to do what is best for ourselves because we are actually living in the middle of this situation. And what our current situation here in the city of Brownsville tells us is that we are still in trouble. Is that right, Chris?
We are, and we're going to be for a while, and it's even going to be worse if we disregard, conservative approaches to this problem. So, what is common sense? Common sense is look at the rest of the world. Something doesn't mean it's good for me. I can go out and drink 3 liters of vodka probably within a couple of minutes. It's a bad idea. The common sense is up to everybody. Just the worst one, of course, is the death toll. But we also have the financial aspect, and shutting down the country is not good for anybody. So if you want this to go away, just keep doing what you're doing. Stay at home. If you want to support local businesses who have a right to operate, go ahead and get either curbside, have delivery. Just support your community, and by getting the services you can get delivered to your house, there's no reason.
Let me tell you, don't tempt me, Jesus, Becky.
I am very bored. It'll be a really interesting conversation once we do that. So it's just basically common sense, guys. Just stay home, do what you're doing, and just suck it up. That's just really all you can do.
Can you still wear masks? Yes, please do wear masks as much as possible.
You should.
You should. It is a personal option. Just be safe, everyone. Again, guys, we have to take it upon ourselves to protect our family members, our friends, and our community as a whole. And by acting responsibly, by maintaining social distance, by sheltering in place as much as possible, by not going out and about, we can accomplish just that. it becomes a personal responsibility, Chris.
It does. It does. But it's a responsibility to everybody and yourself.
Chug, 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 chug.
¿Ya están pedos o qué? ¿Ya están bien pedos?
One of the things that I was, I don't know if you read on, but the governor in California has gotten a lot of flack because he's wanting to close back up the beaches. Let me ask you, I know that in Spain, there was a situation where they were bleaching the beaches.
Yes. What did also happen last week, they allowed, look, if it keeps on cutting off, what I'm going to do is just go from my computer to my phone because my data is better than my Wi-Fi. But we'll see if this gets through. Anyways, what happened here?
Masks are a personal choice now. You will not get fined for using them. And again, yet some of our local business might decide and opt to have a policy where you have to have them in order to enter the business. Again,
I think that's a good policy.
And they have the right to refuse service to anyone and everyone out there.
Hello, I think I'm back.
Yes.
Okay, I'll get it out really quick. What happened here? Within one day, cases tripled in Madrid just because they let the kids out. There's kids playing in parks. There's people walking around. They huddled more than they should. That is the reality. One day, triple the cases, the new cases.
Yes,
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. And what Chris just mentioned is my concern. My concern with having the school district being so laissez-faire in regards to, it's all right, it's okay, start bringing in personnel. It's starting to set and embed in the minds of a lot of different people out there that, it's not a serious thing. I find it very concerning. And I've seen those trends also throughout Europe and throughout other countries that have gone through this. I mean, all you have to do is do a little bit of research for them to triple because they permitted children to go out and about is very scary for us as a culture and as a city where we see a lot of kids out there in little groups out there playing outside or congregating. I'm concerned about the kids. I'm concerned about the kids as well. Again, my concern with the kids, especially at the ages of 14, 12, 10, not so much is that we might have loss in regards to life on them. It's them being carriers.
They're perfect carriers.
Carriers.
Yeah, they're the perfect ones because they don't develop symptoms. So
and then
nobody knows.
And they take it back home to grandpa, grandma. And again, you know how much of a loving community we are. Grandpa and grandma will not be able to survive as well as children of these ages. Chris, any final words if you do like back on?
Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing. Look, the government can tell you can do something. Doesn't mean you have to. So take personal responsibility. Protect yourselves, protect your family, protect people you don't know, because the longer this goes on, the worse it is for everybody. So everybody's advice.
Chug. Guys, thank you, Chris. Appreciate you, my man. Chris, we'll try to get you back on the phone sometime soon. Thanks for coming on, my man. Sorry to lag. God bless.
It is what it is. Ciao.
Guys, thank you all so much for being here today. Again, take care of yourselves. Appreciate the mayor being on. Appreciate Chris. And sorry that it lagged so much. Guys, be very, very cautious with the recommendations and suggestions that are being brought upon us by the school district. It's a mistake. It's a huge mistake. The superintendent does not care for the people of Brownsville. He isn't even from Brownsville. Does not care. Mama's is hungry. Does not care. The school board does not care. They don't care. So, guys, be very, very, very cautious out there. Very cautious. A lot of the things that the school board and that the superintendent are doing in regards to bringing individuals back onto campus is a mistake. And listen to what I'm saying, folks. I think Weslaco is also about to explode. I agree with Laura. They just had a nursing home that they've had a couple of cases. It's going to explode. Guys, listen to what I'm saying, guys. This soft opening that the school district is doing by bringing in personnel now is going to cause us to mega explode and going to push our peak way past my prediction of June and July. into August, September. Please, guys, be very cautious in regards to the recommendations and suggestion that this superintendent and this school board. Tonight, we will be on tonight again, and we will discuss the school boards opening up on Monday. We'll also have some information in regards to the current numbers, and we'll start to map out a trend of what is going on. Guys, I love you all. I care about y'all. I've got to go out and do some legwork. God bless. Take care. Please, guys, be good to each other. Be good to me too. Bye.